South Wales had 152,000 tests done in the last 24 hours, which is a huge record for the state. We had 345 cases of community transmission to 8 p.m. At least 60 of those were infectious in the community during that time. Regrettably, we had 2 people die overnight who had COVID, both men in their 90s. Both had a level of vaccination, and our deepest sympathy and condolences to their loved ones. One gentleman had had 1 shot of the AstraZeneca, and the other gentleman had had both doses of Pfizer, both in their 90s. And Dr. Marianne Gale from New South Wales Health will provide further details. In relation to the local government areas of concern in the Greater Sydney region, as we'd said, Fairfield and Banksia do remain the areas which are generating the most cases, but we are seeing some stabilisation in those local government areas. However, concerningly, the front has moved into Cumberland, and we're in particular concerned about the suburbs of Merrylands, Auburn and Granville. So to date, there are 9 local government areas included in those extra areas of concern with the additional restrictions. This morning, based on health advice, there'll be 3 additional local government areas which we'd foreshadowed yesterday to be included, which brings the total local government areas in the Greater Sydney area to a dozen. From 5 o'clock this evening, Bayside, Strathfield and Burwood local government areas will also be included in those areas of concern. In relation to Bayside, the suburbs of particular concern are Bexley, Banksia and Rockdale, where additional cases have been identified overnight. So if you live in those suburbs in particular, please come forward and get tested. But also, of course, in Strathfield and Burwood, which are geographically smaller areas, but we are noticing relative to the populations there an increasing number of cases. And as a precaution, those additional council areas have been brought into those areas of concern. We are asking also people who live in the inner west and also in Camden to be on extra watch and alert, and health authorities are watching the cases in those areas very closely. In terms of regional New South Wales, pleasingly, Armidale, Tamworth and Northern Rivers continue to have 0 cases, which is a positive sign. So those 3 local government areas or communities who are currently in lockdown continue to have 0 cases. Unfortunately, the same isn't the case for Hunter and New England, where there's been a number of cases overnight. And as a response to that, New South Wales Health has recommended that those local government areas which are currently in lockdown, including the Hunter and the Upper Hunter areas, will be extended by another week. So rather than coming out of lockdown tomorrow, that will be extended another week given the additional number of cases. And I think given what the area is experiencing, the community would understand why that's the case. In relation to Dubbo, I understand there were 5 additional cases overnight and 1 in Western New South Wales in the Walgett area, which is why those communities are currently subject to lockdown as well. Can I also acknowledge that yesterday in New South Wales we broke a record where 106,000 people were vaccinated. That is very encouraging. Can I thank everybody for coming forward? And pleasingly, we've seen people, especially in those local government areas of concern in Western and Southwestern Sydney, come forward for vaccinations, and that's exactly what we need to see. Can I please encourage everybody to come forward and get vaccinated? We know it will help us control the spread, but also ensure people stay out of hospital. Thank you.